Welcome to another Transformers animated episode review. Today, we're taking a look at the episode Nanosec, which features the creation of the titular supervillain. This episode begins with a thief running away from a couple police drones. We will later learn that this crook's name is Nino Sexton. Sexton. Oh wait, Nino Sexton. So I guess that means that he's part Italian and part Irish? And I assume the latter is where he gets the orange hair from. Anyways, Bumblebee catches Nino and is kind of mean to him as he teases him about being much faster than he is. Which is not really fair because he's obviously got much longer legs than him. But eventually Bumblebee and Bulkhead fall through the dock, leaving Optimus to apprehend Nino. Also, for some reason, this is all taking place during a fireworks festival. They never mention if it's New Year's or the 4th of July or what. But it looks super pretty. I wish they showed more of the Transformers against the fireworks. I loved the look of this so much that I upscaled this episode to 4K just to try and amplify the beauty of these scenes. I wasn't going to initially because I didn't remember being especially fond of this episode, but it just looks so gorgeous. At Sumdak's lab, he's working on repairing Megatron, or at least giving him some more functionality. But Megatron says that he needs Destronium, which is a nice nod to the Japanese side of Transformers. Because Destronium is obviously an homage to Destron, the name for the Decepticons in Japan. Back at the Autobot base, Bumblebee gets his turbo boosters, which actually came with his deluxe toy. Although in the show, they're painted to match Bumblebee's color scheme. Meanwhile, Nino Sexton receives bail and a special package containing Sumdak's speed suit, which, as we'll learn later, is courtesy of his mysterious benefactor, Megatron. So, did Megatron put the N on the suit? Did he know that he was creating a supervillain? And so he knew that Nanosec would need a logo?
It just disappeared in a nanosec.
Nanosec? I like that name.
Also, what a coincidence that the bank teller says the word nanosec, which I don't think I've ever heard someone bring up in casual conversation. And not only does Nino Sexton like the name, and take it as his supervillain nom de plume, but it also kind of sounds like his original name, Nino Sexton, Nanosec. And as I mentioned, his costume already had an N on it. So it's a good thing that he picked a name starting with N. Otherwise, it'd be like if Clark Kent decided to call himself Mighty Guy, but he still had a big S on his chest. And yes, I know technically it's not an S. It's the Kryptonian symbol for hope or whatever. But come on, it's an S to everybody else.
Word of advice, super speed doesn't equal super strength.
Although if you did have super speed like the Flash, or somebody like that, wouldn't you also have some level of super strength as well? Because your muscles will have to push you at such high speeds. Wouldn't they still have to be super strong? Maybe not Superman levels, but still stronger than a normal human. Also, isn't it kind of weird how Prowl is stepping on Nanosec here? No, I don't mean that kind of being stepped on. I mean he's a giant robot stepping on a human. He must be very careful not to accidentally crush him. Although this is Prowl we're talking about, so if anyone can, he could.
I can make it! I can make it! I'm not gonna make it!
Actually, you would have made it just fine if you simply kept going, Bumblebee. You had more than enough time to make it through. Instead, you made Bulkhead damage city property. So, against Ratchet's medical advice and Prime's orders, Bumblebee, with the help of Sari and her magic Allspark key, installs the turbo boosters on himself. Meanwhile, Optimus is trying to capture Nanosec.
I could do this all day.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
So, after Nanosec nearly escapes thanks to Bumblebee not being able to control his boosters, the villain is finally captured by Ratchet using his magnetic powers. Now why didn't he do that sooner? Also, when Ratchet is using his eye scanner thingy to examine the canister and determine that it's Destronium, this reminded me of Whirl's Polyvisor in Rescue Bots Academy. It's interesting that Ratchet seems to have both medics and Whirl's powers. But thanks to Bumblebee, Nanosec escapes once again. But after seeing that his suit makes him age rapidly, Bumblebee purposely runs Nanosec all over town until he's practically dust. Which seems awfully cruel, even if he is a bad guy. Luckily, sometime later, Nanosec's old agedness would be cured thanks to his to-be girlfriend, Slow-Mo. Although, if she can cure old age, why bother with crime? Why not just start the best beauty salon in the world? You walk in 80 years young, and walk out 18 years old. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. We're still talking about this episode from this season. So they determined that the only safe way to get rid of the Destronium is to get it into the upper atmosphere. So they kind of do this super fastball special where Bulkhead launches Prowl and Bee, and then Prowl flies him up even further with his jetpack, and then Bumblebee uses his turbo boosters to get himself into space. Also, I must say that this scene is really pretty too. I love the pinks and purples in the speed lines as Bumblebee is climbing up higher. And I love the view of him floating in space just above the Earth. Also, apparently this is the first time we're seeing Bumblebee use his battle mask, which appears to be inspired by G1 Bumblebee's original toy head. And as Bee re-enters the atmosphere, we see him turn red from the heat, which could also be a nod towards either Cliffjumper or his red Bumblebee toy variant. And after he safely lands back on Earth, we see that he's all gray. But thankfully he's not dead like Prime was. But he does kind of look like another repaint of Bumblebee, Bugbite, the evil GoBot Renegade, which was the inspiration for Shattered Glass Bumblebee's color scheme. And the episode ends with Bumblebee and Sari going for a nice slow walk. Well, this was a fun episode. I actually ended up enjoying this episode a lot more than I remembered. Nanosec isn't an especially interesting villain, but I found that this episode was really well animated, and it had some gorgeous visuals. Seriously, this has inspired me. I think the next time I have art commissioned for my OC, I think I might have some kind of fireworks animation in mind. Also, did you know that apparently this was the first episode of Transformers Animated to be scripted, and it was originally going to be the series pilot, at least according to the wiki. But that was until they decided later that they wanted a bigger event to kick off the show, and thus we got the TV movie Transform and Roll Out, which I'm glad they did. I mean, this episode is fine, but it's definitely no series premiere. I also have to wonder, the bank account that Megatron gave Nanosec access to had Isaac Sumdak's name on it, and he stole the Destronium from a Sumdak lab and was supposed to deliver it to Sumdak Tower, even though the map that Megatron displays shows the opposite. But anyways, I wonder if Nanosec tried to use any of this information to possibly get a deal to get a lighter sentence with the cops. Isn't it highly suspicious that everything, the suit, the Destronium, the bank account, everything ties back to Sumdak? But nobody questions it. Well, like I said, this was a pretty decent episode of Transformers Animated. What about you? What did you think of this episode? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you here next Saturday for the next episode of Transformers Animated, Along Came a Spider. Ah yes, the introduction and origin story of Black Arachnia. One of my favorite episodes in this series. I cannot wait for this one.